guys, this is Jill, Destination Trekker here, and today we are going to discuss flying to Europe from the US. So some of the big things that come up with flying to Europe is the fact that when you fly there, you always have to fly overnight. Well, that's not necessarily the case, but the majority of the time, yes, it's definitely the case. You fly overnight. We're also going to discuss the fact that when you should buy your tickets when you're flying overseas. International flying is much different than national flying. So let's get started. When we're talking about flying to Europe, we're talking about a long flight, usually someplace between 9.5 to even 24 hours, just depending on where you're flying from to get you over there. So it can be a really long thing. And most of the time, you do fly overnight. Why is this? Why do we fly overnight? Many airports and even many cities over in Europe and even here in the US, they have something called a curfew. And it's pretty much like our curfew we give our teenagers. We want them home at night, that way we can sleep. Well, what happens is they have a curfew so that there's not loud planes coming in and all this activities, because most airports are built around where there's homes. And that noise pollution is known to keep people awake. So that's why they do this. It's also more economical for them to do this. So if a plane flies out, leaving the US, it gets there around 9 o'clock in the morning in Europe. Well, they have time to clean the plane and get it back out and get it back to the US by a decent amount of time, say 4 or 5 o'clock, where then they clean it and they can send it back. If it's going the other way, if it's going from Europe, leaving at say 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then it flies to the US, we're talking about getting in at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. This creates all kinds of problems. No one wants to get to the airport in the US at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to catch their flight to go back to Europe. They just don't want to do that. So then the plane sits there unused until the following morning, which means that they're losing money. Not to mention the fact that most airports at that point in time, they are slowing down for the evening. People's going home, and there's just not as much to offer people at that time at night. And so it is a better deal for them to send night or red-eye flights over to Europe and daytime flights back to the United States. Makes sense, huh? But it doesn't help you sleep much on the plane. I don't sleep on the plane at all, so I think it's awesome if you can get on a plane to sleep. You know what? You can take something to try to help you to sleep. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. It helps with the jet lag. Try to bring a blanket or something from home. Maybe those little things to go over your eyes, something to help you sleep. If you don't sleep like me, you just have to get there and tough it out. It's the best you can do. The more you keep moving, the better off you are. The next thing we're going to discuss is we're going to talk about how and when to buy a flight. You know, when you buy a US or a domestic flight, what ends up happening is they put the prices up, and usually you can buy a price for tickets for a fairly reasonable price up until about 1 month before. Usually the best time is 3 months to 1 month before to buy those international flights for price. However, it's not quite the same with international flights. Most international flights go up about a year prior to your trip. Between a year and 9 months, they are up for sure. You do not want to buy your flight any later than 6 months prior to your trip. What happens at that 6 months point is the prices gradually start to go up. By the time you reach 3 months prior to your trip, forget about it. It's going to be a fortune to fly international. The only other choices you may have is if you have some kind of frequent flyer points, you could use those. If you have the credit card points, you could use those. And some companies, such as your travel companies or even a Groupon, you can get where it's a flight and a hotel and even sometimes transportation included, which can save you money if you are buying later. But once again, those prices tend to go up the closer you get to your leaving date. So your best time is to buy 6 months or prior to any international. Hey, so this is Jill. I am Destination Trekker. If you have any questions or comments for me or anything you want me to answer or talk about, let me know. And don't forget to like and follow me on YouTube, like and follow me on my Facebook page, and check out my blog. Happy travels.